The first clues were found by the scholar Richard Lepsius. In 1842, he began to document Egypt's art treasures. At the head of a Royal Prussian expedition, he traversed the land at the Nile. In his diary, he wrote about monumental rock reliefs and burial sites in central Egypt, decorated in an extremely unusual style. The mysterious pharaoh is named as their builder. A stela mentions a vast city, yet its ruins were nowhere to be seen. But the city did exist, hidden beneath the sand of many centuries. At the beginning of the 20th century, a German expedition reached Amarna. The area was systematically excavated and the finds were archived. The archaeological sensation occurred on December 6, 1912. Excited workers called the excavation leader Ludwig Borchardt. He cautiously uncovered the find and was overwhelmed by what he saw. In his diary, he noted laconically, "No good describing it. Look!" Never before had he seen anything like it. No wonder the people in Akhenaten adored Nefertiti like a goddess. And is that why nothing is known about her origins? Were her parents never named because a goddess cannot be descended from humans? Despite extensive research, scholars have found no clues to her past. Could she really have come to Egypt from a distant land? Did she bring the revolutionary belief in the one true God from her home country? Was Akhenaten a mere tool in the hands of this beguiling woman? Today we know that many princesses from the Near East lived in the pharaoh's harems. Political marriages were intended to pacify the warlike peoples in the north. The realms of the Mitanni was wedged between those of the Babylonians and the Hittites. Is that where Nefertiti was born? Mitanni faded into oblivion. Yet the chance find of a peasant woman in 1887 was to change this abruptly. In the ruins of Amarna, she discovered clay tablets with inscriptions in strange characters. Had this woman unwittingly stumbled across a treasure, or were these just worthless artifacts? Sensing a good profit, her neighbor bought the tablets from her for a few coins. But neither art dealers nor scholars were interested in the find, cuneiform script in Egypt. That had to be a primitive forgery. Nobody recognized the true value of the clay tablets. They contain the almost complete diplomatic correspondence between the pharaoh and other world potentates. Did they finally reveal something of Akhenaten's true character? The reports of foreign envoys, inasmuch as we can believe them, once again paint a picture of a crazy visionary. A letter from Babylon complains that the pharaoh had made the envoys wait in the sun for so long that they collapsed and died of exhaustion. This also indicates that Akhenaten completely neglected foreign policy. Yet there's no reference to Nefertiti's origin. In the 13th year of Akhenaten's reign, the queen disappeared from public life. From this time on, her name was never used officially. Had she fallen from grace? A storeroom of the Egyptian Museum in Berlin. Some of the finds from the German excavation in Amarna are kept here. Professor Wildum is searching for evidence that Nefertiti was disgraced. Thousands of fragments prove that an entire epoch was eradicated violently. Among the fragments, Nefertiti's sensuous mouth. When and why was the statue destroyed? The queen is said to have been separated from Akhenaten during the last years of her life, but had he really cast her out? Surely not, for Nefertiti played an essential role in his concept of faith. There is in fact evidence that she died a peaceful death and was buried in accordance with her royal status.
The only evidence that Nefertiti was buried are these two fragments of a death figure of the Queen. This one here in the Brooklyn Museum in New York, and this one in the Louvre in Paris. And it can be proved, although they don't actually belong together, by this middle part which I had reconstructed. This shows that both fragments could belong together, and the inscription says, "The princess, the great lady of the palace, the betrothed of Akhenaten, the great royal consort Nefertiti, may she live forever." This proves that Nefertiti was interred, with full honors, with all her titles, and not as an outcast, as was assumed for so long.
There is only one place where her state funeral could have been, the king's tomb in Amarna. Akhenaten ordered that his entire family be buried here. Yet one part of the wall is only roughly hewn. Most of the decoration is missing. The tomb was obviously never finished. On the walls of the side chamber, there are traces of a large relief. The inscriptions and the pictures bear witness to the deep sadness of Akhenaten and Nefertiti as they bury their second-born daughter. Her death must have been a shock. Even Aten could not protect the royal family from grief. The king's burial chamber. Were its walls never decorated? This fragment of a sun disk proves that they were. Yet there is no reference to the royal couple. In the center of the room, an empty stone socle. This is where Akhenaten's sarcophagus was to stand. Perhaps the pharaoh and his wife were not buried in Amarna. Yet in the ruins of the royal wadi, the archaeologists found remnants of funerary equipment, willfully destroyed and hacked into tiny pieces, but no trace of the mummies. Did loyal subjects manage to rescue the corpses? The Valley of the Kings in Thebes. We accompany Dr. Nasri Iskander, archaeologist and expert on the mummies of ancient Egypt. Our destination is the tomb of Pharaoh Amenophis II. 100 years ago, scientists made a sensational find here. In the burial chamber, they discovered the mummies of the most famous pharaohs of the New Kingdom. But Dr. Iskander knows that a secret is still concealed in one of the side chambers. The researcher hopes that when opened, it will reveal more about a dark chapter of pharaonic history. Not all the royal mummies have been identified, and there are still no traces of some rulers. Behind the wall, 3 mummies are visible. The mummies are severely damaged, traces of violence everywhere, the results of careless embalming or the work of plunderers. These mummies date back to the age when the land on the Nile was ruled by a pharaoh who went down in the history of Egypt as the heretic.